Am I audible, team? Can you just give me a heads up?
Yes, you're audible.
Hello.
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Great. Okay. So, uh, team, this session is all about, the journey which we basically going to start around uh, uh, in coming days, basically, which is on AWS Data Engineering and Data Analytics, right? And I just want to, brief you about myself. Uh, I am Akshay Srivastava, and I am a data engineer, basically. Data engineer has a lot of basically categories. You can work as a junior data engineer, you can work as a you know at a senior level you can work. So there are different roles. You can work as a speciality in certain domain, right? So I'm basically leading a small team in my firm, right? And I have worked on various data domains, you can say. For example, uh, telecom, finance, right? Entertainment, automotive, right? So these are the domains which I basically have major forte in, right? So before moving ahead, guys, I just want to know like a little bit about your background. So, can you just quickly give a one-liner introduction of yourself, a quick introduction without wasting much time? Yeah. So, Satyanarayan, do you want to start?
Yes, yes, Akshay. Good morning, Akshay. Nice to meet you. So myself, Satyanarayana Pragada. You can call me Satya. So having around 14 years of IT experience, and I started my career as a .NET developer initially. Then I started working as a BA developer in data warehouse systems for almost 4 to 5 years. Then I have jumped into AWS technologies and so overall, exclusive experience in AWS Databricks so far. And experience in building data pipelines end to end. But with this much of experience, why I joined this course means I just wanted to explore uh, various services from AWS in terms of pipelines, warehouse, and of course cataloging and data governance. So basically, I'm looking for hands-on coding. That's more. I think I went through the content, course content. It looks fine to me, and also it's more than enough to become a AWS
You
data
know, I think
engineer.
I'm not able to hear your voice. Satyanarayan, what you're saying.
Yeah, am I audible now? Hello, am I audible?
Okay, you guys can give me a heads up if you are able to hear my voice. All right, great. So let's move on. I think there might be some congestion, right? You can always, write your uh, basically answers in the chat box. Okay, so let's take that. All righty. Okay, so let's move ahead. Uh, so basically, this course is all about, you can say, someone who basically, willing to go inside data engineering, right? So, I mean, if you are, willing or have a passion to, work for data, or if you have that passion, to just excel your career in, because there are n number of opportunities. I mean, so much, you can say, a plethora of opportunity are there in big data, right? Not in terms of like if you want to, clean the data, there is a special job for it. If you want to ingest the data, there is an ingestion team, right, in every company. For transformation, there is a special individual team, right? number of opportunities are there, right? And this field is booming day by day. I mean, it's really, if you got a job, or if you have already, you want to excel in your career, so I think this course will really give you a boost, right? So let's go through like what basically this course is all about, what we'll go through, in the upcoming uh, minutes. Okay. So as I said, uh, uh, this particular course will walk you through with like uh, what is basically big data. So we'll just get a hang of like initial content. Okay, that okay. Uh, how basically big data come into picture, right? What's the significance of it? You can just go through like how engineering is happening in big data, right? And what is data pipeline, ETL, challenges which we face in day-to-day engineers, big data engineers, uh, you know, lifestyle. And very importantly, like there are some characteristics which we basically used to know before, going a deep dive into big data, right? What are the key technologies? What are like storage and processing frameworks which big data use? And as you know, like what are the career opportunities? As I told you already, right? We can go in deep when we just go in this section. So, guys, like I mean, initially uh, there were databases, as you all know, right? In your company, you might have used, or in your college days, you might have used some sort of database like Oracle, MySQL, and all. So, I mean, they are really good, they are really amazing, no doubt, and they have a small limitation, which just was quite heavy on them. They have this limited storage space. At a petabyte level, they just start lagging. The query results are not that good, right? The quick reads are not at on. I mean, up to the point. So then come into picture the uh, big data thing, right? So how big data come into picture is basically with the concept of Hadoop, right? Uh, where you have decentralized data, right? The data is basically scattered at multiple clusters. Guys, feel free to write your questions in the comments, so we can have it parallelly. Okay, so as I said, like this is the way. Like if you just go for a normal database, it's centralized in nature, right? And if you go for a, you can say big data field, then the data storage is decentralized. There is no one center, for the data storage. And I'll let you understand in the coming slides like how basically it is decentralized, right? So that's the point. Let's move ahead. All right. So, uh, what is big data, right? I mean, basically, big data, you can say like, large volume of structured or unstructured data in any sort of, you can say form, which basically we can collect daily. There are IoT devices installed everywhere nowadays, which basically, just you can say blow data, yeah, per second. Everywhere there is a flow of data happening currently. So that sort of huge, extreme level of data, which basically, the companies basically, digest and want to, bring value out of it. So that is basically you can say big data, right? Now, just take an example of Instagram, take an example of Facebook, right? So they all come under Meta, right? And Meta has a really you can say a niche big data architecture. How basically they are dealing with all different WhatsApp. They also, I mean, come under Meta, right? So they have their data, centers created in order to handle, they just bifurcated their data in such certain manner. So I mean, uh, any data which is in enormous amount, which is basically structured, unstructured, and which is basically give you value out after processing it. It's called big data, right? So this is basically what big data is. If you just go for 5 V's of big data, then you might already have know about like volume, velocity, veracity, variety, and value, right? So volume is always the concerning part, right, in every company. So I mean, if you have a large amount of terabyte, petabyte, or even exabytes. I mean, these are like really huge uh, volume in big data, basically, which we deal, right? So volume is really important, and as per the volume, we basically define the configuration of the cluster. I mean, this is the first point. Now, velocity. I mean, at what velocity your data is coming. The volume you have decided. Okay, like for example, terabyte of uh, data is coming, right? You're pulling in terabyte of data. Now, at what speed it is basically coming, right? So that is really important. Now, going to uh, variety of data, right? So what value it brings, right? Whether it is structured, unstructured, semi-structured. Do we need to, for if it is unstructured, then how basically we can structure it, right? So this is variety, all right. And veracity all stands for the trustworthiness, right? The quality of the data, where it stands, you know. Okay, is it garbage or is it something which you can rely on, right? So those are the aspects comes in veracity. If you go for value, like basically it should be meaningful, right? Some sort of insights or actionable information should come, we should take out of it. I mean, these are the major V's which anyone should know before, stepping into big data. All right. So basically our focus would be on how we can leverage big data and how can we perform engineering on it, right? And how can further we will see like how AWS engineering we can do, right? So you can say like you know the big data engineer is basically can create you can say storage. Uh, I mean broadly, if I say you can do any sort of storage from storage till the uh, you can say landing, any sort of work in a company, right? For example, initially you have to ingest the data. So that work a big data engineer can do, right? And it's not that you can say uh, easy, right? Basically, it's not that straightforward. It's basically really complex, different type of sources we have, right? Each company has their own source, right? So in order to have a knowledge of how basically to deal with different sources, you know how to basically establish a connection with them. So this is really important, and all sort of things which comes up with initially interacting with the source. Okay, and then if you just come, uh, okay, so I've just bifurcated this particular thing. What is big data engineering? That let's go for a difference from data science, right? So someone is having like, what's the major difference between data engineering and data science? All right. So I mean, basically, data sciences focuses on extracting insights and creating models from the data, which basically sort of a AI genre, modeling, creating model, training them, So that is a whole different story. We can talk about that at some other point, right? But currently, we are more focused on data engineering, right? All right. Now, what are the key responsibilities? As I already mentioned you, so you can say implementation, maintaining data pipelines, storage systems, processing frameworks, right, to handle the challenges of big data. So, I mean, these are like few responsibilities. Now, initial the core on-premises, right? I'm talking about not cloud. On-premises, the data key technology which you required is simple, like HDFS, right? S3, Google Cloud. This is like the storage perspective I've just written. And processing Hadoop is like the backbone, for everything. Spark is basically for transformation. It provide you the that processing power. Similarly, if you want to go for any cloud, if you're working in GCP, then BigQuery is a data warehouse there, and AWS Redshift is the warehouse in AWS. All right, data pipeline, right? So now, if you are dealing with the real-time data, right, you might require a message queue service. So that is Kafka, right? You might require in AWS, you might require a sort of a end-to-end pipeline tool, which is Vue, that really helps you in creating the pipeline. Google Data Flow is another a really key service if you're dealing with GCP, right? So this is a inter, cloud sort of services which I put it in, to give you a more broader essence. Now, if you just talk about the orchestration, right? So here, basically, we can use Apache Airflow, which is basically present both in AWS and GCP, right? Lucini and Prefect. I think these are like the service for orchestration. So let's move ahead. Okay, so you might have like what does this ETL mean, right? Uh, as per the requirement, there are different ways. There is ETL, there is ELT, right? So it depends on the scenario. When should one go for ETL, and when should uh, someone go for ELT? All right. So it simply mean if you, as the name suggests, it's like extract, transform, and load. So, for example, you have uh, uh, there is a source, there is a database, right? You want to migrate that database to AWS cloud, all right? How basically you do it? You will extract it, you will establish some connection, right? You will do it, and then uh, let me give you in this manner. Okay. So like for example, you know, all right, this is your source. Okay. This is your target. All right. So you can assume that this can be any on premises. We are now just talking about Oracle DB for an instance. Okay. This is Oracle DB. Let's assume that we are just sending our data into Redshift, which is a data warehouse in AWS. All right. Now, if you just think in the manner that like what are services is required and doing this. So here you can get a essence, right? Okay, like how ETL is basically happening. Okay, so for example, you just basically establish a connection, right? In order to take all the data into some sort of you know uh, storage, basically. So you can use basically S3 as a service, right? So S3 is a storage service from AWS where you can establish a connection. AWS has lots of services which basically help you, to bring your data uh, to S3, in order to directly just dump your data from Oracle to S3. Now from S3, you can use any sort of service, right, in order to uh, All right, so let's write here AWS Glue. Okay, so this is a transformation layer, and then if you want, to give any sort of notification, let's make it simple. Remove this part. Right. Okay. All right. Okay. So it's quite straightforward, guys. This is a general ETL, thing is happening here. Now, if you just have a look, right? So there are phases in this particular thing. For example, this particular phase, right? This is called this particular phase is called, you know, extraction. Okay. Then you can say like this particular phase is called transformation. All right, right. And then I'm just teaching it from the ground level. I hope like everybody is uh, at a normal, you know, a base level of information about big data. You can comment if you have any questions. All right, and this is like basically flow. All right, so how like you just brought your data, you extracted your data from Oracle, put it in S3, you just transformed your data with the help of Glue, and then you loaded it back right to AWS Redshift, which is the data warehouse in AWS. It's a small pipeline also. This is a small ETL process also, right? So that's the way, right? And then what are batch and streaming processing? So batch is basically something which is already uh, historical data you meant to say. We can understand in a way that okay, the data which is old, which is that called batch, and something which is real time called stream. Okay, so let's move ahead now. Yeah, this, as I already explained, what is batch streaming NoSQL databases like you can understand like uh, if you just say like at the current market what all options we have like edge based Cassandra MongoDB, right? So these are the NoSQL databases which basically works on uh, they are not RDBMS, they are more sort of document database, okay, and they have variable length of you can say rows in it. So they have lots of you can say uh, facility in order to give you quick reads. So whenever you're dealing with OLAP, on online analytical tools or online analytical processing, you always go for you can say no SQL DBs or some sort of DB which is basically give you quicker read. Challenges which you face in big data is like always scalability. Once you are in a project, you always think, today, okay, I'm consuming 1 GB of data, my pipeline is looking fine. What happened tomorrow? This data is keep on coming, right? And you are piling it up, right? So how to, think in a way that in a long shot, right? Like, okay, for tomorrow also. So that sort of processing code you should always write, and then configuration of the cluster you should always choose, to process. Data quality is a major issue in big data industry because okay, whatever work you have done, but it should be on point, right? So you should assure your work, right? Nobody else would come to assure it, right? So always just try to uh, uh, create quality checks on the data which you have created. So I'm just explaining in terms of core industry level because I'm there in the industry for more than 8+ years, right? And I know like I'll just give you pointed information that okay, what is happening in the company and what basically you will face once you are in the role, right? It will really give you a ladder, straight ladder to a level that okay, you should not struggle with things. You should already know like what the struggles are basically. So quality checks is really important thing, right? Latency. Now, minimizing the time it takes to process the data, right? In real. So how quickly you bring the data into the system is called latency, right? So that's the important question. Security, right? Nowadays, you might have heard, right? There are news which come that okay, there is a data leak, right? Uh, Indian government has just got their data leaked, right? Or some sort of incident like that. So I mean, security is the prime importance, is on the prime importance, right? I think how basically secure your data, we'll have a look on it. Cost management, always when we are dealing with cloud, right? There are a lot of services. Each service has its own price. So we'll check that how, we'll basically deal with the pricing. Now coming to the AWS Data Engineering Toolkit. All right. So what we will cover basically. So we'll, as we saw that, okay, in big data, ETL is a really one big thing, right? You got a role in any phase of the pipeline or in any phase of the ETL process can get a role, right? So we'll go through each phase: ingestion, storage, processing, orchestration, analysis, monitoring and governance, security best practices. So we'll follow all these pillars, right? And this is like a really broader level. We'll just go deep into it. What about data ingestion, right? So there are lots of services. I just, put it a screenshot of the top five services which, anyone would should get, would get in the company when, you lie into it. So like, for example, uh, AWS Glue, right? AWS QuickSight. So Glue, as I said already, right? It's for creating pipeline, ETL pipeline. So you can have your ETL pipeline set by Glue. You can have QuickSight, it's for creating dashboards. You can have Kinesis. It's more like a Kafka, which is used for, message queuing for real-time data. You have lake formation. You have Athena, which is another, you can say, log. You can work on your logs. You can bring your logs into the system and you can run SQL queries. So it's more like a SQL querying and analyzing of your data sort of tool. So these are like a full 1,000 feet overview of the ingestion service. Right? Comes to the data storage part. You can have storage divided in various ways, right? So you can have EBS volumes, right? You can have S3 as I already mentioned you, right? So you can have FX, you can say elastic file system, right? So snowballs are there, storage gateways are there, backup, snowmobile. So if you just take a look, these services, right? These are basically come handy when all the bottom ones, especially snowball as in snowmobile. So whenever you have, certain amount of data which is really huge, really huge means even you can't, transfer it over the internet whatsoever your bandwidth is there. So at that time, snowmobile come into picture. They just, send a real truck at your site, right, which consists of hard disk, fast hard disk, right, and basically just load your data into that and then go to the AWS data center and just, uh, you know, uh, ingest it there. So, or we just go through like the storage part. I just put it the storage services. There are database services also, which will look, which is typically not present in this slide. So, how basically what all options are there in databases, right? And data warehouses, we'll see that. Coming to data processing part, we'll go through like how processing has been happening in Glue because it's the ETL tool, right? We'll just check out like how EMR works. EMR where you will go through like the environment of Hadoop, Spark, right? Athena and Lambda functions, like how to write Lambda functions for giving you, you can say, if you want to perform trigger a job, right? If you want to trigger action on a particular thing, so you can use for short, short code in order to do that. With Lambda is a really important service because with this service you can just trigger anything uh, in AWS. You can trigger any other service of AWS. You can trigger a SNS service to create a message service, right? Okay. Your job is completed, you'll receive a message, right? Any sort of service you can trigger with Lambda. I mean, we'll see that orchestration. If we just talk about orchestration, so here step functions are really glue. See, in every side glue is there because it's really important for big data, AWS big data, right? Now step functions. So step functions are basically, you know, uh, there are ways, to create pipeline. Either you can hard code and create in glue, or you can just create drag and drop. So step functions give you that drag and drop facility. So we'll have a look on it. Airflow is really important. Airflow come handy if you want to create a table. Uh, if you want to basically start something at a specific time, you can just trigger it and it will run each day on 8 p.m. Right? That sort of scheduling thing Airflow would give you. It's really important service. Analysis, you can say Redshift. It's the major warehouse in AWS. Everything would land into Redshift. QuickSight, as I said, it's a dashboard tool, right? And EMR, as I said, it's like again a cluster which is have you know there are EC2 instances in AWS, which has like you can say you need to go and it's basically empty compute. You have to install software, but EMR comes up with all the suite of big data software pre-installed. You can just check, uncheck, check it, right? And as per your checklist, it will install all the software into your cluster. This is really important. Data monitoring is another concerning topic. Once the job is triggered, you have to monitor it, right? So CloudWatch come into picture. CloudTrail just have give you essence, uh, like at what level basically services are engaged, right? Config also give you a side on the configuration of a particular thing. On a high level, you can say all these services help you in monitoring and governance, right? All right. So, uh, talking about the career path, right, and opportunity, basically, as I said you in the beginning also, you can work as a big data engineer, you can work as an architect, right? You can work as a data pipeline engineer. These are like most in demand, you can say, designations in the industry, right? And the bare minimum requirement is like you must have a knowledge of programming in any language like Python, Java, Scala, uh, as well as like some sort of expertise you might require as you're entering it. Definitely in AWS, any sort of cloud, right? SQL, I think I just forget to add it here. SQL is also really important uh, since you most of the time you have to deal with wrangling the data. Going for certifications, if you go for AWS, uh, you know certified big data specialty or GCP professional data engineering or any sort of like AWS service certificate, I think they are handy. They just give you a upper hand in the industry once you go. Okay, so I think that's it. It's a 1,000 feet overview of like what all things are there, and we'll just go into deep dive further, in coming days. Uh, so, guys, you have any questions? I'm open to it. Thanks for your time. Thanks for attending it. You can just always connect me on LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn ID, right? So, yeah, okay. I got some questions. Satya just asked like, okay, see Satya, what we will do, right? So we have a AWS, you know, practical sessions on each topic. So basically, we'll go, underneath like how basically, we are just building pipeline, right? How we are basically integrating each services in order to create a pipeline. So I think that will answer your question in that session, right? Dave has asked some questions like,
Yeah, Akshay, am I audible?
yeah,
Yeah. So actually, I think you'll
yeah.
be
So we
walking
have all
through a.
this thing listed, all right.
Yeah.
So this is just a really higher level, which I've just created a presentation just for the sake of presenting you in order to give you a more visual aspect of the course. So we will go through like in depth of a lot of things. If I just say right,
So I think you will be covering through practical sessions by exploring all the services like Lambda services, or maybe Kinesis streaming service, and also Hadoop EMR, and for data processing and Glue also you will be covering, right? I went through the
all right.
course content, and also for warehousing Redshift tool you will be preferring. I think
So
while
basically,
you will
what we'll
be,
do, we
yeah.
will go through in depth with this particular topic.
Hmm. Hmm.
We'll just have, like as I said, I just given a really 1,000 feet overview, but we'll follow this, right? And this
Yeah.
consists of everything, like all the answers
So,
of your question, like how
yes.
basically each services
Yeah.
is being taken care of, right? And
Yeah.
Databricks, Snowflake, right? So I think Snowflake is not there, but definitely Databricks will cover. I mean, each sort of services we will cover here, basically.
So, so actually, you'll be covering like a database
Any
integration of
further
like,
questions, please?
yeah. So actually, I had a question. So you'll be covering like entire like ETL, like the pipeline as well as like the integration of Databricks with AWS, right?
Uh, sure then. All right, team. I think then let's call it a day, right? And we'll go further as per our course. Okay.
Yeah. So, Akshay, one more question. So, I think while you will be walking through practical session by exploring all the services, so do we really? Of course, we also require AWS trial account at least to
If
create
you're
and
saying
play
something,
down.
I think I'm not able to hear it. You can always comment it in the chat, right?
Okay.
If you have any further questions. Satya, I can't hear you. There is no voice coming, right? You can type it in the chat. Okay. Yeah, Dave. Okay. Which questions you're talking about, Dave? As I said, right, we will cover POCs on each topic in detail, right? So it would be a really in-depth session, which will basically help you or master you, right, in order to create ETL pipelines. Okay. AWS trial account is fine to practice hands-on coding for all the services you will be covering. Yeah, I mean, it was totally fine. We will go through all the services there, basically we require, a free, you can say, which comes in a trial way. And we'll talk to the, visual path team also, that how basically we can have an account for you guys in order to, practice. So let's discuss that thing, right? But yeah, we'll cover each services uh, in depth basically over AWS console. All right. So they have ETL data pipelines, real case scenarios with Spark, with Databricks, and monitoring them on Grafana or CloudTrail. Yeah, I mean this we will do. It's in the code. They will do that. We'll cover it in depth. Definitely, definitely. So we just go through a sample, you can say pipeline, right? And then I'll in the end I'll give you a project also in order to work, so that you will get a brief idea like how to create it, right? Yeah. Okay. Any more questions, guys? Okay, we'll try to integrate something like Kafka, make a ETL workflow, and then monitor it. Exactly. See, if for real time, you need some sort of message queue service, and we will use uh, SQS, which is a service from AWS. We can use Kafka also. Kafka has some limitations, which is being removed or eradicated in SQS. We'll take up any one of them, right? And obviously we'll just monitor it and outfield. I mean that's the plan. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Satya, I think it's there. The coordinate sessions would be there. Exactly. There. Because Kafka has limitations, right? As you already know, right? I mean, there is a particular capacity of a message, to transmit. But I think SQS is remove that, and up to a certain extent, not totally, but yeah, it gives you quite upper hand basically. We'll go. I mean, I'll just let you know when we just pick up that particular service, right? So we'll go uh, in depth. All right, guys. Feel free to ask anything, whatever is there in your mind, right? Any sort of uh, questions which comes into your brain in terms of your daily working. So are you guys like say as I'm not able to hear you, I just really want to know about you because I should know, right? Like basically to all like what are you doing basically currently? So are you college going? Are you working in IT already? How much experience do you have? Can you just quickly put those details in the chat? It will be easy. All right, Dave. Okay, great, Satya. Okay, so Dave, you are in USA or are you in India? You're planning to switch. Okay, okay. Don't worry, guys. I think you guys might have some sort of experience, right, already in you can say big data. Okay. And what about this Lutendo? Uh, Lindo, are you there? Okay, okay, that's fine. Okay. Okay. So you all of you guys, I think, must have some sort of knowledge about AWS already, right? So I think that's really helping you while the course. Right. Okay. Okay. Great, guys. So thank you, guys. I think it's a nice session with you all. So let's go ahead in the coming days. Okay.